Okay, so today we're diving deep into Degen Forest, and wow, you've given us a lot to dig into.
Yeah, someone did their homework.
Yeah, for sure. Somebody's serious about due diligence
Yeah.
here. We've got pitch decks, press releases, even some glimpses into the smart contract stuff.
Yeah, and website snapshots.
It seems like you want to know if Degen Forest is the real deal. Like, do their claims actually hold up, and what's the potential here?
Yeah. Is it all hype?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Let's jump in. The revenue thing really stood out to me right away
Okay.
because so many of these Web3 projects, they kind of fizzle out because they can't figure out the whole revenue piece, like how to generate sustainable income or how that connects back to the value of their token.
That's huge.
It is. And Degen Forest seems to be addressing that head on. Yeah, it's interesting how they're tackling the whole degen thing too, right?
Right.
Because that term can be kind of like, oh, is this shady or whatever? In crypto,
It's risky.
it's a gamble,
Yeah.
but they're spinning it as decentralized generation, which hints at their goal of like onboarding the masses,
Yeah.
making Web3 for everyone, not just the crypto diehards.
Right, and that whole mass adoption thing hinges on figuring out that revenue puzzle.
Exactly.
Which brings us to their Mugla token and that whole 33% buyback and burn mechanism tied to Degen wallet fees.
Okay, so on paper, it seems like a smart move, tying revenue directly to token value like that. But
So we need to scrutinize those financials for sure.
yeah, are we just looking at smoke and mirrors here? Because does that pass the smell test? And then you look at their pitch deck, and they're projecting this massive revenue growth over the next few years.
Yeah, those projections need some serious scrutiny. Like, are they based on solid assumptions? Are they really accounting for how volatile the crypto market can be?
Right, and how competitive it is.
Exactly, because everyone's trying to grab a piece of that pie.
Right, so they've got these 5 revenue streams highlighted in the pitch deck.
Right.
Fees on swaps, NFT listings, DeFi loans, yield farming, and then there's the Degen Vault hardware wallets.
Right, and that whole Degen Vault thing is interesting. They're pushing this hot wallet to cold wallet upgrade path, which seems like a smart way to onboard users.
Yeah, like a freemium model almost.
Yeah. Exactly. Start with the free app, and then if you want that extra layer of security, you level up to the hardware wallet later on. But how secure is that hot wallet? They mentioned biometrics and all these protocols, but some independent audits would be reassuring.
For sure, agreed. And while having lots of different revenue streams is usually a good thing,
Diversification is key.
exactly, we still need to look at how realistic these streams actually are. Like they're projecting a 0.69% fee on most of their wallet services,
Yeah.
which is pretty standard.
Yeah, that's in line with the industry.
But they're also saying a 40 to 60% profit margin on the hardware sales.
Yeah, and that's a hefty margin.
It is. So how big does their user base actually need to be to hit those numbers?
That's the question.
Because they're forecasting this huge growth.
I'm going to take those numbers with a grain of salt until they've got a proven track record.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of user experience, that Degen wallet itself sounds really ambitious. They're saying it's this all-in-one user-friendly platform. So you've got your swaps, your NFTs, your DeFi loans, even a built-in explorer.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, and it's all powered by this actor model technology that they say is way better than clunky databases.
Actor models can be really efficient and scalable, which is important for something like this.
Right.
But they are relatively new in the crypto space, so it will be interesting to see how Degen Forest's implementation actually handles things in the real world, especially with potentially millions of users.
Right, because that's a whole other beast.
Yeah, it is, and don't even get me started on the security of that Degen Vault.
Right.
They boast this triple-locked security biometrics PIN in the card itself, which sounds impressive.
Sure.
But how does that actually compare to other hardware wallets that are already out there? That's something worth looking into.
Yeah, good point. And what about the team behind all of this? Do they have the experience to actually pull this off?
Right, because a fancy pitch deck only gets you so far.
Exactly. Their
Yeah.
pitch deck highlights all this diverse experience, though. Marketing, blockchain development. They even have people from big telecom companies.
Interesting.
And they brought in Capital Numbers, who are an engineering and IT talent partner to like beef up their development team.
Okay, so they're definitely trying to stack the deck in their favor. But experience in something like telecoms doesn't automatically mean you're going to succeed in the crypto world because it's so fast-paced and constantly changing.
That's true.
What's their track record with actually building blockchain products? Can they handle the regulatory hurdles? And are they committed to transparency and engaging with the community? Because that's how you build trust in this space.
Right. And they are pushing that whole community angle,
Yeah.
especially with their NFT collection.
Oh, yeah, the NFTs.
Yeah. Early access to features, MLO, rewards, Zero fees on the Degen wallet.
Mm-hmm.
Are these perks actually valuable, or is this just hype to drive those initial sales?
Yeah, is it all just smoke and mirrors? And speaking of community, what about their Degen Forest DAO? They mention it'll have a role in governance, but they're really vague on the details. Like, how will it actually be structured? Who gets voting power? How will they make decisions and actually implement them? These are key questions for any project that claims to be about decentralization.
So we got this ambitious vision, some unique approaches to revenue and tokenomics, some very promising tech, a team with a mix of experience that's got us wondering. And they're really hitting that community aspect hard.
Hmm.
What stands out to you so far? What claims have you particularly intrigued or skeptical about?
Well, they've definitely put a lot of thought into this, and I do like that they're being transparent, at least on the surface.
Yeah,
But those revenue projections are very aggressive. The tech is untested at the scale they're talking about, and that Dugin branding, that's a gamble for sure.
agreed.
Oh,
We've got a lot more to unpack, a deeper dive into their white paper, their marketing strategy, and of course, all the potential risks and red flags.
don't forget the red flags.
Yeah, but we're going to take a quick pause here for now. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back to continue our deep dive into Degen Forest. All right, so picking back up on our Degen Forest deep dive before the break, we were talking about their team and the tech and all the big promises, but we can't forget about the white paper.
Yeah, you got to dig into the nitty-gritty details.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you had a chance to really comb through it,
Oh, yeah, definitely spent some quality time with it.
what did you think?
Well, I was actually pleasantly surprised.
Ah,
Yeah, it wasn't just a bunch of jargon like some of them can be.
yeah, for sure.
They actually do a good job of explaining the complex stuff in a way that's easy to understand.
Which is key.
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially if they're serious about reaching a wider audience.
Right, because not everyone's a blockchain whiz.
Exactly. And on the technical side, the white paper goes deeper into their implementation of that actor model we were talking about earlier and their security protocols and how they're integrating with existing DeFi protocols.
Okay, so they're not trying to reinvent the wheel completely.
Right, which is smart because for a platform that wants to be a one-stop shop for Web3 finance, they need to play nice with others.
Makes sense. And they even give you detailed budget breakdowns for each part of their platform.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, which you don't see too often in the crypto world.
True transparency can be hard to come by.
Right. So that's potentially a really good sign. Like there's serious about accountability. But of course, we still need to verify all those figures and make sure they're using those funds wisely.
Absolutely. Trust but verify, right?
Exactly. So speaking of transparency, let's talk about that elephant in the room, or should we say the Degen in the forest?
It's definitely a choice.
It's risky, right?
Very risky because in crypto, Degen usually makes you think of those meme coin gamblers who are just throwing money at anything.
Not exactly the image of like a trustworthy financial institution.
Not quite. So are they
Yeah.
being cheeky? Are they naive? Or is this like brilliant subversion?
Yeah, it's hard to say for sure. It's a gamble, that's for sure. They're trying to reclaim that term, spinning it as, decentralized generation, this community of people who are shaping the future of finance.
Yeah, but will that message really resonate with the average person or will it totally backfire?
Who knows? I guess we'll have to see, but a name is just a name, right?
True, but first impressions matter.
That's true. So let's move past the name for a second and talk about their marketing strategy, because they're aiming for mass adoption here, but how are they actually going to make that happen? Their materials mention this whole multi-pronged approach using traditional and crypto-specific tactics.
Okay, so they're not putting all their eggs in one basket, which is good to see.
Right, they mentioned social media campaigns, influencer marketing, content creation, community engagement,
Yeah.
The usual suspect.
Of course, but the thing that stood out to me was this Web3 education series they're planning.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it seems like they get that education is key here. Like a lot of people are intimidated by crypto and don't even bother.
For sure. It's a big barrier to entry for a lot of people.
It is. So if they can break down those complex Web3 concepts in a way that's easy to understand, that could be huge.
Yeah, I like that angle too. Webinars, interactive content, targeted social media campaigns, all that good stuff.
Exactly. Meet people where they're at.
Right. And it doesn't stop there.
Yeah.
They're also planning to use AI-optimized ad campaigns to get people to download the app. And they're trying to get in on big crypto events like the Bitcoin halving.
Smart.
Yeah, so they've got a plan, which is more than some projects can say.
True. That's
But having a plan and executing it are two very different things.
very true. We'll have to wait and see if they can actually deliver.
Exactly. Okay, so quick recap. We've got the ambitious vision, the unique tokenomics, the promising but untested tech, the team with the mixed experience,
Don't forget the questionable name.
right? And this marketing strategy that
Sure.
seems well thought out but still needs to prove itself.
A lot of ifs.
Yeah, for sure. But there's more. They're not just trying to be another Web3 banking platform.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they've got this whole Degen Web3 suite of services that they say will provide like enterprise level blockchain solutions.
Okay, like what?
So we're talking things like wallet as a service platforms, NFT minting tools, blockchain data APIs, even a Degen marketing formula to help other projects make it in the Web3 space.
Wow, so they're trying to be everything to everyone.
It seems that way. It's an interesting play for sure. Are they positioning themselves to be the go-to source for all things Web3, or are they getting ahead of themselves?
Right, because the market for that stuff is still pretty new.
Exactly. So are they spreading themselves too thin, or are they tapping into something big here?
Good question. We need to figure out if their Web3 banking platform is even viable. And then on top of that, is there enough demand for these other degen Web3
Right.
services?
And how will those two sides of their business actually work together? Will they help each other grow, or will they end up competing for resources and attention?
So many things to consider.
Right. And speaking of things to consider, we haven't even touched on one of the most important factors yet, community sentiment.
Ah, the voice of the people.
Exactly. What are people actually saying about Degen Forest? That's where we'll pick up when we come back for the final part of our deep dive. Don't go anywhere. And we are back for the final part of our Degen Forest deep dive. We've talked about their vision, their tech, their team, the financials, even their marketing strategy.
We've really gone through it.
We have, but at the end of the day, the human element is crucial in this space. So let's talk about the Degen Forest community.
Yeah, you're right, because community sentiment can tell you a lot, sometimes even more than the tech specs or all those promises in the white paper.
Oh, absolutely. A passionate and engaged community can make or break a project in this world.
Especially in Web3.
Exactly, because it thrives on decentralization and that collective enthusiasm. But if you're just trying to get a feel for a community, where do you even start?
Well, the Telegram group is usually a good place to begin. Just jump in and observe,
Okay.
see how active the chat is, what kinds of questions are people asking, is the Degen Forest team actually responding?
So you're looking for that two-way communication.
Yeah, and most importantly, does it feel like a genuine community, or is it just a hype machine churning away?
That's a good point, because there's a big difference between the two. But how can you really tell from those interactions? Like, what are the signs of genuine enthusiasm versus manufactured hype?
We'll look for those thoughtful discussions where people are actually sharing ideas and insights.
Okay, so real engagement.
Yeah, exactly. And even some healthy constructive criticism, because that shows that people are actually thinking critically about Degen Forest's potential and not just trying to pump and dump.
Right, they're not just in it for a quick buck.
Exactly. And on the flip side, if the Telegram group is mostly just spam price speculation and superficial comments, that's a red flag for sure.
Got it. So quality over quantity when it comes to Telegram engagement.
100%.
Okay, what about other platforms like Twitter? What can that tell us about the community?
Twitter's interesting because it's more public, right? So you can see how the team is presenting themselves to the world. Are they providing regular updates that are actually informative? Are they responding to questions and addressing concerns?
So again, that two-way communication is key.
It's essential because anyone can blast out generic marketing messages, but genuine engagement that takes effort.
Right. And should we be paying attention to the overall tone of the conversation on Twitter?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Is the sentiment generally positive? Are people excited about Degen Forest? Or are there a lot of valid concerns and skepticism? Keep an eye out for any red flags too, like any brewing controversies. Or is the team being dismissive of criticism?
That's never a good sign.
No, it's not. You want to see transparency and responsiveness from the team. That's how they build trust.
So it's not just about vanity metrics, like how many followers they have or how many retweets. It's more about the quality of the conversation and the level of real engagement.
Right. A small, dedicated community that truly believes in Degen Forest is way more valuable than a huge following that doesn't really care.
That makes sense. And don't just stick to the official channels, right? Like venture out into those independent forums and websites.
Yes. Reddit, Bitcoin Talk, other crypto communities.
What are people saying about Degen Forest when they think the team isn't listening?
Because that's when you get the real tea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all about getting that well-rounded, unbiased view from multiple sources.
Think of it like investigative journalism, but for crypto.
I like it. So gather your information from different corners of the community, weigh the good against the bad, and see if a clear picture starts to emerge.
Exactly. And trust your gut, too. If something feels off, maybe the community seems a little too good to be true or you get a bad vibe.
Yeah, sometimes you just get that feeling.
Listen to it. It's okay to trust your instincts.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, but as we wrap up our Degen Forest deep dive, I'm still left wondering, they're promising this seamless, accessible Web3 banking experience for everyone.
The big dream.
Right. But how realistic is that really?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And while Degen Forest might have some innovative ideas and a passionate team, we have to remember that Web3 is still in its early stages.
It's true, there's a lot of hype.
There is, and there are still some significant hurdles to overcome before it becomes mainstream.
So what are those challenges that Degen Forest and really any ambitious Web3 project needs to address to make that vision a reality?
Well, scalability is a big one. Can blockchain technology actually handle the massive volume of transactions that a truly global financial system would create?
That's a great question.
Because right now we're seeing congestion and high fees even on the most well-established blockchains. So Degen Forest needs to show that their platform can handle massive growth without compromising speed or affordability.
Right, otherwise it's back to square one.
Exactly. And of course, we can't forget about security, especially when we're talking about people's money.
Yeah, security is paramount.
How can they guarantee that user funds are safe from hackers, exploits, and all the other vulnerabilities that are out there?
Right, because those are still a problem in the crypto space, unfortunately.
They are. So building trust means having really robust security measures and a commitment to ongoing audits and improvements.
Absolutely. And we also can't forget about the user experience. Can they actually deliver on this promise of a platform that anyone can use, even if they're not a tech expert?
It's got to be easy.
Right, because right now a lot of Web3 applications are still clunky and confusing and intimidating for the average person.
It's very much like the Wild West out there still.
It is, and that steep learning curve, that's a big part of why more people aren't embracing Web3. So Degen Forest and the whole industry really need to make user onboarding, education, and intuitive design a priority.
If they want to reach the masses, they have to.
Exactly. And we have to remember that this isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. Building a truly decentralized, secure, and user-friendly Web3 ecosystem, that's a huge undertaking.
It's a long game for sure.
It is, and it's going to take constant innovation, collaboration, and a whole lot of patience.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So Degen Forest definitely has potential, but they also have a lot to prove. It's up to all of us to do our own research, weigh the risks and the rewards, and decide if this is something we want to be a part of.
Don't just follow the hype, whether it's positive or negative.
Right, be critical, be curious, and stay informed.
Words to live by.
Couldn't agree more. Well, we've explored Degen Forest from every angle, their vision, their tech, their team, their financials, their community, you name it. Now it's up to you to decide if they deserve a spot on your Web3 journey.